Take one.
As immigration increased in the late 19th century and cities grew, immigrants sought ways to participate in the democratic process.
Development of cities.
Development of cities. Chronology of development, half of the 19th century and early 20th century. Modern cities. The technological advances, elevators, steel grinders, bridges, electric trolley cars, elevated tracks and subways. Growth of city populations. People immigrated from abroad, migrated from the farm to city. People from farms lost land and moved to cities. Population distribution prior to 1920. Nativism increased as Italians and Poles, Jews and Russians came to dominate immigration.
Problems in cities.
Problems in the cities involve diseases such as them having AIDS and getting diseases that really, killed off most of the population. Poor sanitation was due to them dumping secretions and trash into the streets because there wasn't anywhere to naturally dump the trash or they didn't have bathrooms. Housing, they didn't really have housing as much as we do now. Housing was in the back, and most African Americans were pushed in the worst housing in the back. Transportation, of course, they didn't have as many cars as we do now, and they also, they mostly didn't have any ways other than walking. Plus, that would be walking through the streets in which they dumped their secretions and trash in, which made them get diseases. We had a lot of water depletion, and that made it really dirty. Most people couldn't drink it, and if they were to drink it, they would have to boil it. Most people didn't have access to fire. And if they did have access to fire, it caused a lot of houses to burn down because they didn't know how to properly control it. Crime was a big thing. People would, death, of course, murder, and they would go and steal things that people did have, along with pots and pans to boil water to get fresh water from. And the result to these problems, death, injuries, and political corruption was formed.
Migration of African Americans to cities.
Reasons for leaving the South were poor cotton fields due to soil exhaustion and the boll weevil, demonstration of Jim Crow laws, intimidation, and lynching. The fall of farm prices were caused by African Americans leaving, and African Americans joined other farms. That's where they went after they left the city. Intensified during World War I. They were regulated to the least desirable parts of the city, and they were segregated. They suffered resentment, and they were the last to be hired at jobs and the first to be fired. And the result was cultural renaissance in the post-World War I period.
Patterns of immigration in the 19th century.
Prior to the Civil War, Irish and Germans were predominated. After the war, most freedom has stayed the same. In reaction to new immigrants, a movement to restrict immigration was pushed. Ethnic neighborhoods grew as immigration political machine. People voted for those who found them jobs and helped them through hard times.
One.
To look for the familiar in a strange new land.
Chronology.
It's recording. Don't even look at me. Go. Go.
Patterns of immigration in the 19th century.
You got a toilet in the background.
What?
No. Somebody just flushed it out.
Oh, shit.
Bye.
Bye guys.
Thanks
Thanks
for
for watching.